Chapter 4. Effective Strategies for Repairing Your Credit. There are many credit repair companies out there who are willing to offer their services to you. But why pay another company for something you can do? We have listed some of the best strategies that will help you repair your credit without seeking the help of a credit repair company. Pay to delete strategy. If you have derogatory items on your credit report, you'll prefer to pay the unpaid credit balance as long as the creditor agrees to delete the things from your credit report. As I already mentioned, please don't accept zero balance appearing on your credit report since it will taint your reputation. As a rule of thumb, less is more in this section. The fewer items you've got here, the higher off for you. This method works out only if your report doesn't show whether you've had any history of bad credit in a derogatory items section. It may ultimately improve your rating. The thought is to make sure that whatever amount you comply with paying doesn't show up as your last activity date. If the creditor only cares about their money, why should they bother telling the planet that you have finally paid? In most instances, the creditor often writes off debts in 2 years of constant defaulting. In most cases, the creditors often write off debts in 2 years of constant defaulting, after which this information is sold in bulk to a set company for a few pennies on a dollar. It suggests that those companies will be just fine if you pay a fraction of what you need to pay. Whatever you pay, they're still going to make money. This results in harmonious negotiations like pay to delete since they have nothing to lose anyway. Therefore, use the pay to delete option only at this level and not the other. The only way around it is for the gathering company is a costly judgment, so you have some advantage here. Additionally, use this strategy when some new negative items start to spring up on your report that would hurt your reputation as a credit consumer. Also, since the creditors will often sell equivalent information to multiple collection companies, you would probably start noticing an equal debt reported by several companies. Use pay to delete to get them off your report. You also can use this strategy if you've been unsuccessful in getting items off your credit report using other methods. However, it involves opting to seek the disputed way might not only make the process more cyclic, cumbersome, tiresome, and frustrating if you don't want to get into this cycle. Now that you know when to use this method, understanding how the whole process works is highly critical. To begin with, make sure that you get an acceptance in writing if they comply with your terms. Don't pay without the letter. After you agree, allow about 45 days for subsequent credit reports back to the delivered to you, to your credit monitoring service. These companies have the jurisdiction to initiate the deletion process, so don't accept anything less like updating the balance. It's either a deletion or nothing. If they struggle to stall the method by saying that they can't delete, mention that it'll only take about 5 minutes for them to fill the universal data make. Don't worry if one company does not agree to your terms, since another one will probably show up and gladly take the offer. Remember that the records will show on your reports for 7 years, of which 2 years are already past. These companies don't have any choice. Otherwise, you'll have to let 7 years pass by. However, don't use this as an excuse for not paying debts, since the creditors can sue you to pay outstanding amounts. This process aims to make sure that whatever bad experience you've got with one creditor doesn't make the others make unfavorable decisions at your expense. Note: don't be overly aggressive to creditors who have tons to lose in the process, especially the recent ones, as they will probably sue you. Your goal is to be aggressive to those creditors barred by the statute of limitations from suing you in court. You don't want to land in legal trouble to add to your existing problems. Try to remain as smart as possible and make all the right moves to repair your credit at the earliest. Pay to delete isn't the sole option available to you. You can use other strategies to repair your credit. Check for FDCPA, Fair Debt Collection Practices Act, violations. Fair Debt Collection Practices Act is a federal law that underlines how collectors of debt must act while collecting debt from you. There are a few things that a collector is not free to do. The law is ambiguous on what collection agencies can and cannot do as far as debt collection is concerned. For instance, they must not misrepresent the amount of debt you owe. They cannot claim a higher amount from you. You have the right to ask a third-party collection agency to share the proof of debt and the total amount you owe. This debt validation requirement must be done in writing. They cannot add extra interests or fees that were not present on your original loan document. They cannot call you during inconvenient times like holidays, weekends, etc. Call you once a day unless they can prove that their automated systems had accidentally dialed your number. They cannot call you before 8 a.m. or after 9 p.m. They cannot threaten, belittle, or yell at you in an attempt to make you pay any outstanding debt. They cannot threaten to press charges, claim property, or destroy your credit score. They must send you a notice containing the debt amount and the creditor's name within 5 days of the collector's initial communication. You have the right to dispute the debt within 30 days. They cannot tell anyone else except your spouse why they're contacting you. The best way to go about it is to let them know that you're recording their calls. They cannot take out extra money from your account than you have authorized if they are doing an ACH. They are also not allowed to send you collection letters if you've already sent them a cease and desist order. Suppose you have proof that a particular collection company has violated the law. In that case, you need to file a complaint with the culprit and then have your lawyer send evidence indicating the violations. You may then request an outstanding debt be forgiven. You would love to know that the law is on your side in such circumstances. If the violations are major, the collection companies might be forced to pay fines up to $10,000. So if your debt is significantly lesser than this, you'll be on your way to having your debt cleared, since these companies would rather pay your debt than pay the fine. Every violation of the Fair Debt Collection Practices Act is punishable by a fine of up to $1,000, which is payable to you. So don't just consider this as something negligible as far as repairing your credit cards is concerned. Dispute all negative terms. You can write letters to credit card bureaus to dispute negative items on your report. Not only that, you can also dispute errors online. There are many online websites at your service. Single out the items that you have the most impact on your credit score. Address those items primarily. You may begin with judgments and collection accounts that are derogatory in nature. Prevalence of at least one collection account on your report is pretty normal. You can dispute negative items by writing to the concerned bureaus, TransUnion, Equifax, and Experian. You must be patient in the process. Some disputes take longer to resolve than others. Once you report the dispute, the ball is in the Bureau's court to investigate and resolve the issue at the earliest. Devote all your time and effort to remove negative items on your list, as they weigh your score down heavily. Use tactics used by credit repair companies. Sometimes you can tactfully dispute correct information. Suppose an account that you did not pay was forwarded to collection and they eventually gave up. The only thing left is the entry on your report, and you can dispute the entry. If you are lucky, it may get removed. If you are wondering how, let me tell you in simple words. Once you dispute an entry, the Bureau asks the creditor to verify the transaction. Some of the agencies will, but others will simply ignore the request made by the Bureau. And if they do, then the agency is supposed to remove the dispute from your report. What it means is that small lenders or collection agencies do not respond for all requests made by the bureaus. They don't intend to go through the process. However, bigger financial institutions like banks, credit card companies, and mortgage companies work closely with bureaus and hence are more likely to respond. This strategy depends a lot on the luck and hope that the agency would not respond to the Bureau's request. If the agency does not respond, the dispute or entry gets deleted from the report. Look for errors on your credit reports. Your credit report should be free of errors. Even the slightest error, as reporting the incorrect date of the last activity on your credit report, is enough to wreck your credit. The date of last activity has a profound effect on your credit rating. If the write-off date is different from what has been reported, you'll have to dispute the entry and have it corrected for your credit's actual status. However, be sure that the credit bureaus will, in most cases, tell you that the negative entry is correct. However, this is often not the case, suggesting that they will not remove the incorrect item. It would be best if you put in efforts to get them on the proper track. To get them to comply, you have to tell them that the law requires them to get their system's preponderance in a situation to ensure that these errors don't arise. Therefore, the mere fact of confirming the initial mistake isn't enough. Inform them about the notice or summons and complaint to make them understand that you are serious about the matter. Once they know the gravity of your situation, they're going to put in efforts to do the proper thing. The bureaus don't want any reason to go to court, since this might ultimately prove that their systems are weak or flawed, which in turn would spell more trouble for the bureaus. So, try to drive a strong point across so they understand that you mean business. The mere exchange of emails won't do. You need to send them details on how strong your case is. It will make them examine their position, and eventually they'd plan to assist you to avoid court proceedings. However, this method will only work if you're confident that they made a mistake. You'll also need to show proof for it and state that there indeed was a mistake. Request proof of the first debt. Suppose you're confident that the MasterCard has been written off for late payment and the carriers, Capital One and Citibank, cannot find the first billing statement in 30 days, which they're required by law to do. In that case, they will be compelled to remove the dispute items from your credit report. Another handy approach is requesting the first contract you signed to prove that you opened that specific MasterCard in the first instance. As you do this, don't just request verification, since this only prompts the gathering agency to verify that they received an invitation for collection on an account that has your name thereon. Therefore, as a rule of thumb, ensure that you state in clear terms that you want them to supply proof of debt, including providing billing statements for the last few months and the original contract that you signed while opening the MasterCard account. Pay the first creditor. When your debt is sold to collection agencies, you'll probably risk having new items exposed on your credit report, which may further hurt your credit rating. However, you can avoid sending the complete payment of any outstanding amount to the first creditor. You only need to send proof of payment to the collection agency and the other, then request them to delete any derogatory items reported on your credit report. It is always a good idea to be in direct contact with your creditor or creditors. Many of those collection agencies will be fully prepared to cheat you and devise plans to lower your credit score. It's up to you to get rid of these middlemen and to do the payment yourself. You must also agree to pay some of the cash to the creditor as full payment for the pay-to-delete strategy. Under federal law, if the first creditor accepts any payments as full payment for any outstanding debt, the gathering agency must remove whatever they need to the reported. It may only work if the first creditor accepts the payment. A few of the checks you pay to the first creditor may be returned to you.